Before the Declaration of Independence, before the colonies took up arms, there was a moment of unity, a declaration not of war but of principle. It was October 14th, 1774. The First Continental Congress had gathered in Philadelphia, and from that assembly came a document known as the First Declaration and Resolves. It asserted the colonies' rights as Englishmen, protested the Intolerable Acts, and listed grievances against Parliament. It was the first collective voice of America, a calm yet courageous stand for liberty under law. Today, on Voices of Life, we revisit that moment of conviction and conscience. Guiding us through this historic turning point is our host, Pastor David, whose pastoral insight and historical storytelling bring faith and freedom together in one voice.
Thank you for joining me today on Voices of Life, a ministry for the Church for Life. I'm Pastor David. As we continue our Did You Know series, celebrating 250 years of faith and freedom, we turn to the Declaration and Resolves, a document created by the First Continental Congress that laid the foundation for everything that followed. This was not yet revolution. It was reason. It was resolve. It was colonies saying, we are loyal subjects, but we are not slaves. So what it really was, on October 14th, 1774, the First Continental Congress adopted the Declaration and Resolves. It asserted that the American colonies were entitled to the same rights and liberties as all Englishmen. It protested the Intolerable Acts, and it listed grievances against Parliament's overreach. This was the first unified statement of the American principles, a declaration of rights, not rebellion. So why was it written? Well, the colonies had endured years of taxation without representation, trade restrictions, political interference, and when Parliament passed the coercive acts, closing Boston's port and dissolving local assemblies, the colonies realized that their freedoms were in danger. The Congress met to respond, not with violence, but with words grounded in law, faith, and conscience. The Declaration and Resolves affirmed that the colonies were entitled to life, liberty, and property. They had the right to participate in their own legislation. They were subject to the British Crown, but not to Parliament's direct rule without representation. The Intolerable Acts violated these rights. And finally, the colonies would boycott British goods until justice was restored. It was a peaceful protest, but a firm stand for truth. The tone was respectful yet resolute. It appealed to the king's justice, but it also warned that continued oppression would destroy the bond between Britain and her colonies. This was the language of conscience, the voice of the people awakening to their destiny. So why does this matter? Well, the First Declaration and Resolves matters because it marked the first united statement of American rights. It protested tyranny through lawful reasoning. It set the stage for the Articles of Association and later the Declaration of Independence. It showed that liberty begins with conviction, not conflict. It was the first time America spoke as one. We have created the narrative for your listening enjoyment. Please listen to it now.
Preamble. Whereas, since the close of the last war, the British Parliament, claiming a power of right to bind the people of America by statutes in all cases whatsoever, hath in some acts expressly imposed taxes on them, and in others under various pretenses, but in fact for the purpose of raising a revenue, hath imposed rates and duties payable in these colonies, established a board of commissioners with unconstitutional powers, and extended the jurisdiction of courts of admiralty, not only for collecting the said duties, but for the trial of causes merely arising within the body of a county. And whereas, in consequence of other statutes, judges, who before held only estates at will in their offices, have been made dependent on the crown alone for their salaries, in standing armies kept in times of peace. And whereas it has lately been resolved in Parliament that by force of a statute made in the 35th year of the reign of King Henry VIII, colonists may be transported to England and tried there upon accusations for treasons and misprisions, or concealments of treasons committed in the colonies. And by a late statute, such trials have been directed in cases therein mentioned. And whereas, in the last session of Parliament, 3 statutes were made. One entitled, An Act to Discontinue, in such manner and for such time as are therein mentioned, the landing and discharging, lading or shipping of goods, wares, and merchandise at the town and within the harbor of Boston, in the province of Massachusetts Bay. Another entitled, An Act for the better regulating the government of the province of the Massachusetts Bay in New England. And another entitled, An Act for the impartial administration of justice in the cases of persons questioned for any act done by them in the execution of the law, or for the suppression of riots and tumults in the province of the Massachusetts Bay. And another statute was then made for making more effectual provision for the government of the province of Quebec, etc. All which statutes are impolitic, unjust, and cruel, as well as unconstitutional, and most dangerous and destructive of American rights. And whereas assemblies have been frequently dissolved, contrary to the rights of the people, when they attempted to deliberate on grievances, and their dutiful, humble, loyal, and reasonable petitions to the Crown for redress have been repeatedly treated with contempt by His Majesty's ministers of state, the good people of the several colonies of New Hampshire, Massachusetts Bay, Rhode Island, and Providence plantations, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Newcastle, Kent, and Sussex on Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina, justly alarmed at these arbitrary proceedings of Parliament and administration, have severally elected, constituted, and appointed deputies to meet and sit in General Congress in the city of Philadelphia, in order to obtain such establishment as that their religion, laws, and liberties may not be subverted. Whereupon the deputies, so appointed being now assembled, in a full and free representation of these colonies, taking into their most serious consideration the best means of attaining the ends aforesaid, do, in the first place, as Englishmen, their ancestors in like cases have usually done, for asserting and vindicating their rights and liberties, declare. Certainly below is Part 2 of the Declaration and Resolves, adopted by the First Continental Congress on October 14, 1774. This section contains the Declaration of Rights, in which the Congress formally stated the liberties to which the American colonists believed they were entitled. Declaration of Colonial Rights. Resolved, NCT 1, that they are entitled to life, liberty, and property, and they have never ceded to any sovereign power whatever a right to dispose of either without their consent. That our ancestors, who first settled these colonies, were, at the time of their emigration from the mother country, entitled to all the rights, liberties, and immunities of free and natural-born subjects within the realm of England. That by such emigration, they by no means forfeited, surrendered, or lost any of those rights, but that they were, and their descendants now are, entitled to the exercise and enjoyment of all such of them, as their local and other circumstances enable them to exercise and enjoy. That the foundation of English liberty and of all free government is a right in the people to participate in their legislative council. And as the English colonists are not represented, and from their local and other circumstances cannot properly be represented in the British Parliament, they are entitled to a free and exclusive power of legislation in their several provincial legislatures, where their right of representation can alone be preserved in all cases of taxation and internal polity, subject only to the negative of their sovereign, in such manner as has been heretofore used and accustomed. But from the necessity of the case and a regard to the mutual interest of both countries, we cheerfully consent to the operation of such acts of the British Parliament as a bona fide restraint to the regulation of our external commerce, for the purpose of securing the commercial advantages of the whole empire to the mother country, and the commercial benefits of its respective members, excluding every idea of taxation, internal or external, for raising a revenue on the subjects in America without their consent. That the respective colonies are entitled to the common law of England, and more especially to the great and inestimable privilege of being tried by their peers of the vicinage, according to the course of that law. That they are entitled to the benefit of such of the English statutes as existed at the time of their colonization, and which they have, by experience, respectively found to be applicable to their several local and other circumstances. That these, His Majesty's colonies, are likewise entitled to all the immunities and privileges granted and confirmed to them by royal charters, or secured by their several codes of provincial laws. That they have a right peaceably to assemble, consider of their grievances, and petition the king, and that all prosecutions, prohibitory proclamations, and commitments for the same are illegal. That the keeping a standing army in these colonies in times of peace, without the consent of the legislature of that colony in which such army is kept, is against law. It is indispensably necessary to good government, and rendered essential by the English Constitution, that the constituent branches of the legislature be independent of each other. That therefore, the exercise of legislative power in several colonies, by a council appointed during pleasure by the Crown, is unconstitutional, dangerous, and destructive to the freedom of American legislation. Grievances against Parliament. Resolved, NCD 11, that the following acts of Parliament are infringements and violations of the rights of the colonists, and that the repeal of them is essentially necessary in order to restore harmony between Great Britain and the American colonies, viz. The several acts of 4G03, G15, and G34,
5G03, G25,
6G03, G52,
7G03, G41,
and G46,
8G03, G22,
9G03, G24,
10G03, G17,
11G03, G7,
G41, and G45,
12G03, G25,
and G44, 13G03, 25.
Also, the act passed in the last session of Parliament entitled An Act for Making More Effectual Provision for the Government of the Province of Quebec, etc. And the three acts passed in the last session of Parliament entitled An Act
to discontinue in such a manner and for such time as are therein mentioned, the landing and discharging, lading or shipping of goods, wares and merchandise at the town and within the harbor of Boston, in the province of Massachusetts Bay. An act for the better regulating the government of the province of the Massachusetts Bay in New England. An act for the impartial administration of justice in the cases of persons questioned for any act done by them in the execution of the law, or for the suppression of riots and tumults in the province of Massachusetts Bay. And also the act passed in the 35th year of the reign of King Henry VIII, chapter 2, entitled
An act for the trial of trios committed out of the king's dominions.
12. That all and each of the acts before mentioned are impolitic, unjust and cruel, as well as unconstitutional, and most dangerous and destructive of American rights.
Resolved NCD 13, that from the necessity of the case, a good understanding and harmony between Great Britain and the colonies, so ardently desired by the latter, and usually promoted by an intercourse beneficial to both, is greatly obstructed by the acts before mentioned, and that the repeal of them is indispensably necessary in order to restore harmony and a good correspondence between Great Britain.
This document reminds
and
us
the
that
American
freedom is not
colonies.
born in chaos. It begins in clarity. Before muskets and marches, there were words, words of principle, words of faith, words of resolve. And those words still echo today. As we honor 250 years of faith and freedom, may we remember that liberty is preserved when truth is spoken boldly and humbly. Thank you for joining me for this Voices of Life Did You Know special. Until next time, may God bless you and may God bless the United States of America.
And so, before independence was declared, before the colonies took up arms, America's first united voice was raised not in rebellion, but in reason. The first declaration and resolves was a statement of principle, a peaceful protest against injustice and tyranny. It affirmed that the colonists were entitled to the rights of Englishmen. It condemned the Intolerable Acts. It called for unity, for courage, for conscience. They did not seek separation. They sought restoration. They did not cry for war. They stood for truth. In that moment, October 14th, 1774, the seeds of liberty were planted in the soil of conviction. As we honor 250 years of faith and freedom, may we remember that America's strength was born in principle before it was tested in battle. Thank you for joining us for this Voices of Life special episode. May the spirit of 1774 remind us to stand firm in truth, to speak with courage, and to trust the providence that still guides this nation.